Hello and welcome to my video. In this video, I'll be sculpting polymer clay animal keychains. So as you can see here, I bought 3 bags full of polymer clay super sculpty, and this is actually cheaper than I thought it was going to be. It was around $35 I think it was for 3 bags, which is a lot of clay. And I just started off this project by wanting to make a bunch of keychains. I wanted to make a bunch of cute keychains, and my idea also was to post these on my Etsy account. So I'll be making a video about the things I'm going to post on my Etsy. But I was just thinking of making a bunch of cute little keychains, and then some stuff that I liked too that I would personally use. And I started off by just making this penguin, and this was a complete test. So I wanted to complete like the penguin, so meaning like I baked it and then I painted it, and this was just a test to see how the clay worked and how I could use it and continue on with other keychains. And so I found that the best way to work for me was to save clay, at least, was to use aluminum foil. I rolled this aluminum foil up pretty tight, and then I hammered it because I found on my test, which I'm glad I did the test, that the clay would bubble up. I actually made this Coke can, which you won't see into the video, because it actually it had bubbled up so much that it didn't look like a Coke can anymore, and so I had to scrap that one. And I just ended up trying to solve this by the way I rolled out the polymer clay. You'll see me rolling it out into coils, and then I fold these coils back on each other, like on itself, I mean, and that's to prevent air bubbles. And I think it worked, but some of these still did bubble up a little bit, unfortunately, inside the oven when I baked them. And then I started off by making a bunch of keychains that I thought were cute at the time. Looking back, they weren't really the best. Some of them, I scrapped this dinosaur here, but I did like this elephant I made. I went with like a circle shape and a very like cutesy ball shape. And this was, I guess, a good idea, but I just wish I had went with different forms for different animals. Like just for example, I did this cow here, and that one was pretty cute. And I did really like the chicken, in which you'll see the final result of the chicken later on in the video. After it's painted, all these look really exciting, but before they're painted, they just look kind of boring, and it's hard to understand what they are. But some of the challenges I had inside this video was painting them, but after they were painted, it made the keychains look nice. But painting them was a challenge because I used a primer to spray paint, which you'll see me do later, but the paint was very transparent and not opaque, and so after baking them and trying to paint them, it was really hard to paint because I had to use a lot of paint, a lot of layers. To solve this, I found that if you mix cornstarch with the acrylic paint, it thickened the paint, and this was really helpful when painting with like colors like yellow and pink, because they're very thin paints, and this thickened up the paints to make them really opaque and made the paint job look consistent. To seal the paint to the polymer clay, I actually did buy a clear coat finish for the keychains, and I used this on the penguin test, and unfortunately it didn't really work. So what happened was I used 3 coats, and then I could just still scratch it off with my fingernail if I wanted, like all the paint and the clear coat. So what I did was I returned that clear coat and I bought some epoxy resin. I didn't get to epoxy resin them yet, but it would make them very durable. So like the epoxy resin would seal the paint. If they get banged up, it would protect them. And so hopefully, if I do end up selling these, I'll cover them in epoxy resin. I did use some Posca pens too, and besides like acrylic paint. But the Posca pens, I used it mostly on the cow, but I found that it kind of cracked a little bit if it wasn't a consistent coat. And so I stayed away from the Posca pens as much as I could. I just stayed with acrylic paint, and I did make some pool ball keychains, billiard ball keychains. Those are really simple, but I made a video about those too. Those were just challenging to get the circle or the round shape on them. And then here I'm just screwing the hooks to the keychains, and then I did that to every single one, and I was all done. And then I add the key rings, of course, and that was it. This is a very easy sculpture and project, so if you want to try it out yourself, it's fun to make a bunch of random keychains and just experiment and have fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.